On the topic of quarterbacks, the other thing, of course, that really jumped out this week, and I talked about it in Winners and Losers, was Jalen Hurts. Carson Wentz benched. That contract is a absolute disaster. And before we talk about Carson Wentz, a few thoughts on Jalen Hurts. Awesome, right? A guy goes from Alabama to Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley gives him a crash course in playing quarterback. He's still a little bit raw, no sacks taken. I'm really interested to see what we get from him. We'll pick that game here coming up. I want him to do well. But I'm very interested to see, with the pieces that they have, I think there's going to be some bumps along the way. And I think that really, really complicates matters when it comes to what you do with Carson Wentz. On the topic of Carson Wentz, talking kind of pre-show, right? Where are the destinations, 3 destinations that he could end up? Okay, that's going to be really hard. His contract extension, $128 million, has not even kicked in yet. Okay, this is shaping up to be a franchise like boat anchor of a contract if it's as bad as we think it's going to be, right? And we'll have to see if that's the case. Maybe he's just got the yips, maybe not. Via Sportsline, if not the Eagles, and by the way, the answer that I had would be the Eagles, would be the Colts even, Patriots plus 300, Broncos plus 550, Bears plus 1,000, 49ers plus 1,500, and Washington plus 2,500. I actually think those last 2 spots would be the most interesting. I think the first 2, in terms of favorites, are certainly the most likely. Now, the Colts, they have Phillip Rivers. Don't replace him. Sign him to a 25-year deal. Build him a statue. You know how we feel about Phillip Rivers on this podcast. That's a 1-year deal. He's played fine. He's probably not the answer. The connection between Frank Reich, obviously, his former coach, who really allowed Wentz to thrive, that is too obvious a connection not to make. Reich was the offensive coordinator, and Wentz looked like an MVP candidate, frankly, throughout. That was when we thought we were seeing the next great quarterback. It's kind of strange that we're not. Colts have an enormous amount of cap space, close to $70 million next year. Again, it's the obvious choice, but I think it's potentially the right one. Still, that is a ton of money to eat from a guy that has frankly looked broken. On the topic of broken, the Patriots make sense. This is a perfect, this is like your house when you want to renovate a room. Bill Belichick's looking at this thinking like, how can I fix this guy? Cam Newton has felt kind of broken. I mean, it's not working. So do you want to take on a new project in Carson Wentz, one that's obviously hopefully a bit healthier and could certainly fit that mix? The last one that intrigues me a bit is Washington. I mentioned it earlier. I think that if you can get this guy and you're confident that you're going to fix him, whatever has broken him, this is like the position that you have, and you're not going to be in a position to potentially draft that guy. Although I don't know, maybe someone like Kyle Trask or Zach Wilson, maybe that falls to you and maybe that's the route you go. Dwayne Haskins does not appear to be it. This is another way to do it and also keep draft equity. If you could figure out how to work this contract on the books, I think that'd be very curious. And the last point I'll make about Wentz is we saw Brock Osweiler a couple years ago with the Broncos, where you literally traded a huge salary for like draft picks. I think it's unlikely we see that, but what if you're the Jets? Do you take on that salary in a backup role potentially for first round pick or something of that nature? This is such a unique contract and such a unique situation that I think we're going to probably see some unique activity. That being said, he's on the bench now. The value is decreasing every time he's not playing. The value is at an all-time low here. How are you going to stomach? How's an organization going to stomach taking on that big of an asset? How are you going to sell that to management? Not an easy thing to do. And again, the big money hasn't even started yet. Not great. Not great at all.